Okay.
All right, we're live.
Special stream.
Yes, EVO is just a couple days away, so I thought we could do an EVO preview, talk about the games that are going to be competed in this year.
Yeah.
A couple players to look out for. And here we go. All right. 8 games at EVO this year.
Okay.
From most entrants to least here.
Okay.
Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, Guilty Gear Strive, Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, Street Fighter 3, Third Strike, Under Night In Birth 2, Assist Celeste.
Oh my, that's a fighting game name.
It sure is. Oh, the Under Night series. Mortal Kombat 1 and King of Fighters 15.
Cool.
So I think this is the first EVO for Tekken 8, Mortal Kombat 1, and I think technically Under Night In Birth 2.
Oh, okay.
Although this is really just kind of a big upgrade for Under Night In Birth 1. But it still counts, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can't remember if Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising was there last year. It might have been. Okay. Let's get started with the King of Fighters 15. Third time at EVO, possibly the last time for a bit because SNK has a new game coming out this year that might take the focus.
Oh.
The first Fatal Fury game coming out since, I want to say, 1999.
Oh my goodness. First of this millennium?
Yes. They are going to release, I guess, one last bit of DLC for KOF 15, and they just tease it a bit. It looks like it's going to be 2 popular characters who haven't shown up yet, named Vice and Mature, who are sexy evil ladies in suits. So they definitely have a fan base. But here are some players to watch. Xiaohai is probably the most decorated SNK player of all time.
Oh, okay.
SNK is the KOF developer. They made King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, Samurai Showdown, and then they also do like the Metal Slug games and non-fighting game stuff. But Xiaohai has won EVO championships in King of Fighters 13, 14, and now 15.
Wow.
They won KOF 15 at I think this is a typo. Because they haven't had EVO 2024. It should be EVO 2023.
And then EVO Japan 2024, which I think was like in the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah, it was a few months ago. He plays Geese, Benimaru, and I think it's pronounced Isla.
Oh, okay.
My understanding, based on my little bit of research into the KOF tier list, is that Isla is probably the strongest character in the game.
Okay.
So a lot of teams are just building around like, what is the best package to deliver Isla?
Interesting.
We'll see. Xiaohai's probably biggest rival in recent tournaments, at least, is ET. Won EVO Japan this year. Runner-up to Xiaohai last year, and also plays with Geese and Isla in his team, but with Clark instead of Benimaru.
Okay.
So kind of more of a grappler than a zoner.
What country is that?
That's Taiwan.
Okay.
Yes. And then one last player to watch out for. King of Fighters is really known for being extremely popular in the Mexican fighting game community. Okay. There's a lot of really great King of Fighters players from Mexico. And right now, Violent Kane is probably the strongest. He won this year's CEO and Combo Breaker.
Okay.
He's got a lot of other North American tournament victories. So if it's not Xiaohai or ET, this might be the guy to watch. And he plays with Kyo, Ryo, and Rock.
Okay, so not Isla, then.
Yes, not a little different team. I think all these characters are considered like generally pretty strong, but I don't know if there are any top tiers there.
Okay.
So be interesting. And Rock, of course, is going to be the main character in the new Fatal Fury game next year.
Oh, okay, cool.
If you don't know Fatal Fury too much, it was SNK's first fighting game. That's where Terry Bogard is from.
Ah, okay.
So after like a few games in I think in King of Fighters 3, or one of the King of Fighters 3 games, because there's like a bunch, Terry finally defeats Geese Howard and Geese dies. But then Terry adopts Geese's son, who hated Geese and sort of raises him, and that's Rock Howard. And
Oh,
he
okay,
becomes
cool.
the protagonist in Garo, Mark of the Wolves, which is the last Fatal Fury game until the one that's coming out next year.
Okay, wow.
So they're finally picking up on that story, which will be neat. Anyway, let's go to Mortal Kombat 1.
All right.
First time at EVO. It's in kind of a weird position because the game has sold incredibly well, but the competitive scene has kind of struggled, as you can see, since it's so far down the rankings.
Yeah.
It's weird. Mortal Kombat 1, I think, has outsold Tekken 8 this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, not counting the units it sold last year. It dropped out of the top 20 game sales in May and then re-entered the top 20 in June. So it's definitely got, like, a casual audience, but I think a lot of more competitive players have focused on, like, Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8, since it was released, like, right in between those. And those were much... Like, there hasn't been any Street Fighters and Tekkens in a while. And, you know, people pretty much knew what they were getting in Mortal Kombat 1, so if they weren't too interested in NetherRealm games, there was no real reason to check it out.
I did hear some people were, like, critical of the way the game was balanced around, like, the cameos and stuff.
Yeah, I think it does lead to a lot of, like, kind of samey gameplay. It's, like, easy to just kind of find, like, the best cameo for any situation. Like, there's a couple characters who want, like, one specific cameo, but a lot of the times, if, like, Cyrax is the best, you'll just take Cyrax.
Yeah.
Or if Jenny Cage is the best, you'll just take her. But anyway, they are going to announce some new big updates pretty soon.
Okay.
Comic-Con is also coming up, and they announced they're going to reveal their year 2 plans. And because NetherRealm is one of the leakiest ships in the industry, I think it's all already been leaked. There's going to be a story expansion, and I think they'll have Cyrax, Sector, and Noob Saibot playable for that.
Cool.
At least that was the rumor. And then there will be a season 2 of DLC with, if I can remember all of them, I think it was Cassie Cage, Kung Jin, Jade.
Okay.
And then Ghostface from Scream.
Okay.
The T-1000 and Conan the Barbarian, I think was the rumor.
Okay, interesting.
Something.
So, like, so all the characters that were either previewed or leaked at the launch of the game, have they been released by now?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if there was any data for any other characters in there. I know, like, they found, like, Quan Chi and Ermac very early because they were, like, in story mode. But yeah, I think Takeda isn't out yet for season 1.
Oh, that's
but
right.
They just released a preview for him, and all the other season 1 DLC characters are out. Homelander came out like a month or so ago.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Sonic Fox was already talking about maybe playing Homelander at EVO. So
all right.
We can get to that.
Yes.
Easily the greatest NetherRealm player of all time.
Yeah.
Probably one of the greatest fighting game players of all time. EVO championships in, let's see, 5 different games. I think I read they have 7 total championships.
Okay.
The Wikipedia said 6, but I saw them talking on Twitter about having 7. And I'll trust Sonic Fox to know the amount of trophies. Just one final combat, the MK1 sort of circuit championship.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that.
I know they've been maining Johnny Cage recently. I know they've mained Sindel a bit. I know there was some Ermac and Rain at times. And Peacemaker, I think, and they've also been talking about Homelander recently, but Sonic will generally play, like, whatever they find fun or whatever they think will help them win.
Yeah. I've seen them swap to, like, picks that nobody expected just to counter a specific opponent. I remember watching them. They went, like, 0-3 against, who was it? Someone that they sparred a ton with, but then they switched over to Scarlet and just took the match.
Yeah.
It was fascinating.
That's really something they've been good at for their pretty much whole career. Anyway, other players to watch. Nicholas and Scorpion Prox, Chilean twins who have sort of really come on the NRS scene in the past few years. Nicholas, I think, has posted more tournament wins lately.
Yeah, I think so.
Combo Breaker. He doesn't bounce around as much as like Sonic does. I know he's been playing Johnny Cage a bunch lately, so I assume that's who we'll be sticking with, because Johnny's generally been pretty strong.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Johnny.
And one other thing I wanted to highlight, there's been a lot of really strong Brazilian players recently. That's been a thing kind of coming up in the NetherRealm scene, especially since there hasn't been a lot of like new blood from like North America. So, but South America really has been kind of contributing to the NetherRealm scene for
a lot of the sort of North American veterans presence in NRS games seems to have been fluctuating lately.
Yeah. But yeah, GUI Exceptional has probably the biggest like tourney win. So I kind of focused on them. They won the last chance qualifier for Final Combat.
Okay.
But there's a few of them, so I wouldn't be shocked to see them do pretty well.
Ashra, is that a popular pick?
I don't think so. I haven't seen a ton of Ashra other than GUI.
I would like to see some
like
really high level play of her.
Yeah, she's really neat. I played her a bit in MK1, and she's very tricky, but she is pretty fun. Let's go to our next game. Under Night in Birth, Cis Celeste.
All right.
Oh, and there's a 2 in Roman numerals back there.
Oh, okay.
So, have you ever heard of a game called Melty Blood, the fighting game?
Only through other fighing game tournaments, but yeah.
It's kind of a meme. Melty Blood is from the same company as Under Night in Birth.
Okay.
But it's based on a like an IP the company, which is called French Bread, doesn't own. It's based on a visual novel from the company that makes like the Fate series.
Oh, okay.
Those visual novels.
I know they're big on visual novels there.
Yeah. That's Tsukihime is the
one
that Melty Blood's based on. So like during the 2010s, French Bread decided they wanted their own IP, so they created Under Night in Birth, which is very like Tsukihime and Fate inspired, but it's its own thing. And it's got like a very devoted fan base. It's a pretty fun game. It's kind of similar to like the ArcSys games. It doesn't have like double jumps or air dashes for every character, but it has that kind of like offensive focus and a lot of like character diversity and just like high skill ceiling play.
Okay.
So it's pretty neat. Under Night 1 was at EVO a couple times, 2016 and 2019. Unfortunately for Under Night 2, it launched the same week Tekken 8 came out, so it's been pretty overshadowed for its entire lifetime. But it still developed a pretty devoted following. And its first DLC character is about to come out, and I don't know anything about Under Night's story, so I couldn't really tell you much about it. It's an anime girl.
Yeah. There's probably 1 or 2 of those in there somewhere.
Yeah, they've got quite a few. Let's get to it. The player who has dominated North American tournaments pretty much the entire time Under Night 2 has been out is Big Black.
Okay.
He's won Combo Breaker CEO and Texas Showdown this year. He's got a few other first place finishes too. And a second place at Frosty Faustings, which is his lowest placement that I could find this year.
Wow.
Mains a character named Byakuya, who I believe is kind of sort of like a glass cannon character. Can do like a ton of damage, but if you hit him, like he will also take a ton of damage.
Okay.
Maybe doesn't have a lot of defensive tools. But one thing I don't really know a ton about Under Night, or Uni as it's abbreviated. Defiant is the player who's like challenged Big Black the most this year, and they are the player that won Frosty Faustings.
Okay.
They made a character named Londrekia who does a lot of like ice magic stuff. I think they're a bit more like pokey, they have a bit more range to their normal attacks.
Okay.
And I don't really know a lot about like the Eastern scene for Uni. Clear Lamp is the player that won Uni the last time it was at EVO, so I think they would probably be the favorite of the Japanese players. And a few of the top players are coming, so Clear Lamp I think would have a decent shot.
Okay.
And they also main that character Byakuya, who Big Black mains, so we could be in for another like EVO mirror match in grand finals. That was sort of the big thing last year.
Oh, okay.
Almost every final ended in a mirror match.
Interesting.
Let's go to Street Fighter 3 Third Strike.
Oh, okay. And this is the latest Street Fighter.
Yes,
right?
they finally released a third Street Fighter. So starting last year, EVO decided they wanted to start bringing back some classic titles
Okay.
for tournaments. So last year they did Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Okay, yeah, that is a classic.
Yeah. So this year they decided to do Third Strike, which I think is maybe the most iconic EVO game. Definitely has the most iconic EVO moment.
I was about to ask if that was the Justin Wong moment.
That's EVO moment 37 is what people call it.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know if there are 36 other moments or if that's just a meme. But yeah.
This number they came across.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Street Fighter 3 is a strange game. When it launched, it like bombed harder than almost any other game has bombed.
Oh dear!
Considering how popular Street Fighter 2 was, but it launched like right when arcades were kind of dying out in the West, and that was also launched like when 3D games were becoming a big thing, and especially 3D fighting games like Tekken and Virtua Fighter that were alive. So people thought it looked like pretty old.
Yeah, archaic. And
even compared to like other 2D fighters, the original version of Street Fighter 3 did not really have any unique mechanics. And it also dropped the entire Street Fighter 2 cast for almost all new characters.
Really?
Who kind of had like, there's a lot of really cool characters in there, but like there's a lot of weirdos.
I did not know that Street Fighter 3 didn't have the cast from Street Fighter 2.
Yeah. They released a few upgrades that eventually got Street Fighter 3 into a good place. And Third Strike was the last one. It was the third major upgrade. And that one also added Chun-Li and Akuma for returning characters.
Okay.
And that was sort of like...
Yeah, we know Chun-Li is in there just from...
yeah. For reasons. But yeah, and that was like when it kind of solidified itself as a tournament game. That's like... Third Strike came out like right when EVO started coming together. So they're linked very closely.
Okay.
So there's one player,
history with EVO then.
Yeah, there's one player we should definitely talk about.
I see you right there.
Justin Wong, maybe the greatest fighting game player of all time, has won EVO 9 times. But he has never won Street Fighter 3 Third Strike in singles.
It's cursed him.
Yes. He has won a team tournament, I think, in 2009. But all of his championships are either in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or 3. And of course, the losing participant in EVO Moment 37 to Daigo Umehara's Ken. And I checked this. Daigo is going to EVO this year, but he's not registered for Street Fighter 3.
Interesting. So, I noticed the absence of him in there.
Yeah. So I was wondering if Justin still competes much, and it turns out, yes, he does. There were Street Fighter 3 tournaments at Combo Breaker and CEO this year, and he won both of them.
Oh, okay.
So this could be like his best shot to like finally
break that curse
at EVO.
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, I think he just also does just like content creation.
Yeah, he does a lot of streaming, a lot of fighting game stuff. He has a fighting game kind of podcast / stream with Matt McMuscles and Maximilian Dude.
Jeff here says he thinks Daigo's no longer going to EVO because he didn't renew his passport and could not board his flight.
Yes, I saw that, but update on that, Daigo did manage to get an emergency passport.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So he is going to arrive like just in time. I assume he's going to be playing Street Fighter 6 because I'm not sure if he plays a lot of non-Street Fighter games. But I am surprised he didn't register for Third Strike.
Yeah, me too.
But we will see. So, some of the players that Justin might face: Tominaga, another one of the classic Japanese Street Fighter 3 players, won the Double Dragon Cup, sort of his most recent big tournament win. Not a lot of the top JP players are traveling to EVO this year, but Tominaga, I think, was the biggest name that I could find. He means a character named Makoto, one of the new characters that was introduced in one of the Street Fighter 3 updates. She was sort of introduced to give Street Fighter like a fighter that actually uses karate. Ryu and Ken are sort of nominally like karate based fighters, but they just like throw fireballs and do jumping.
That's true, yeah.
So Makoto is like sort of like supposed to be kind of the actual karate person,
the actual martial artist.
Her thing is like she moves very slowly, but she has like a really quick dash. and she can do like just an insane amount of damage when she gets her hands on you. So there could be some fun matchups there. And one last player, Umezono, another classic Japanese player who I think has faced Justin a few times in tournaments before. They won an EVO showcase for Third Strike last year, and they're also a Chun-Li main. Okay. So if we get a mirror match again, this could be the one.
So if I understand, I think EVO Japan is still like a fairly new thing, right?
Yeah, I think it started in like 2019 or 2019.
So was there like a big sort of esports event for fighting games in Japan prior to that?
I don't think so.
I
think some of like Japanese anti-gambling laws could have prevented tournament setups the way we normally do them here. That's the story I've heard, at least. I don't know enough to say. I think a lot of like the Japanese fighting game scene, from what I understand, is sort of like arcade versus arcade, like kind of challenges and matches. So like communities.
So it's much more like a grassroots thing then.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. That's
so it having any kind of infrastructure is kind of a new thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's pretty recent. I think like the fact that Sony owns EVO now probably helps a bit.
Oh yeah, probably.
A lot of like fighting game companies are now trying to put together like tournament circuits for marketing, and they want to have tournaments in Japan to show it off.
Cool.
Up next, Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising. First year at EVO. Upgrade to Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, which was at EVO in 2022. Now, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus came out in February of 2020. Do you remember what was happening in February of 2020?
Some little nuisance by the name of coronavirus.
And something that's bad for a game is if your multiplayer scene kind of relies on like in-person events for marketing and for competition. And also like if it can't do those, you want good online play at least.
Yes, certainly.
Grand Blue Fantasy Versus also launched without rollback netcode, which is the standard for fighting games to make like connections smooth and like not constantly buffering and stuff. So it kind of launched at the worst possible time and the worst possible way. So it just kind of like, it really struggled to take off for a long time. But Rising came out, I think late last year, maybe midway through last year. And it sort of like finally got an audience. And it's a solid little game. I've played a bit of it. It's based on like a mobile gacha game. So I don't really know a ton about like the characters. But it's pretty neat. It has like some of the sort of like accessibility features you see in like Street Fighter 6 nowadays, like simple special moves and like easy auto combos.
Okay. So this is a brand new game. It's not like a remaster or remake of the 2020 game.
I think it's definitely built off of the 2020 game. I think it has like a new story and a bunch of new characters. So it's somewhere like in between like a sequel and a remaster, I guess. It's like, back in like the arcade days, like instead of like coming out with Street Fighter 3, they came out with like Street Fighter 2, the new challengers with like Cammy and Fei Long and those guys.
Oh, okay.
So not quite a new game, but not quite a full-on sequel.
Okay.
I think they also did make some system changes to like resources and stuff, but I haven't had a chance to check out much of Rising yet. I think it also has a free-to-play version, which has also helped it take off.
Oh, apparently it has 2B from...
Yes, it does have 2B from Nier Automata. One thing about that, I should have made a note here. It has had some significant balance issues with its DLC characters. They've had a sort of pattern of releasing like DLC characters who are extremely powerful and then who kind of take over the meta for a while. And 2B was one of those characters. I think she's also in the gacha game, but I don't know enough about that. I think she's also in Nike, Goddess of Victory. She's just making
that wouldn't surprise me.
All the gacha games. So here's some Grand Blue Fantasy versus players. Gamera won Grand Blue Fantasy versus at EVO 2022 and EVO 2023. I think those are the only like EVO Grand Blue Fantasy versus tournaments so far too. No, there was probably one in 2024 this year. I think I will be talking about it soon. But they've won the most tournaments of anyone in Grand Blue Fantasy. So they are the odds-on favorite for this game. And they main Cagliostro, He's a sort of like a little girl scientist character.
Mm.
I think is supposed to be very annoying and has a lot of projectiles.
Okay. So like maybe like Klee from Genshin Impact, maybe.
Maybe, yes.
that's the closest character I can think of.
I think generally more like smart and less manic than Klee, but like I said, I don't really know the Grand Blue story. Also, Elsa, the top American player right now. They just won CEO 2024. They play. This is something that keeps confusing me. They play a character named Nier, who is completely unrelated to 2B.
Oh, okay.
But who is also a DLC character who came out in like an incredibly powerful state. Nier is a puppet character. If you know like Zato from Guilty Gear, they have like sort of another little character on screen they can control. So they can be very frustrating to fight against if they're played well and if the character's powerful, because they can just be very oppressive and lock you down for a long time. I think Nier did eat some nerfs recently from what I read, so Elsa might struggle a bit, but they're still probably the top Western player to watch out for.
Okay.
And also Tororo, another Japanese player. They've been sort of the most common like player right behind Gamera, but they haven't really pulled off a major win yet. And they're Grand Blue's kind of like Uni in that a lot of the top Japanese players aren't necessarily traveling to EVO Las Vegas this year. So I can't remember who won EVO Japan this year, but it turns out they weren't making the trip. I think it was a player named Rookies, but Tororo is probably the most like the player with the most results who's traveling other than Gamera.
Okay.
They mean a lot of characters. Siegfried and Percival are the ones I saw most recently. I know they were also playing Lancelot at one point and Seox, I think. A lot of different characters. So I imagine they might like follow the meta or look for counter picks depending on how the tournament goes. Lots of knights though with big swords. Getting into some of the other big games here. Guilty Gear Strive.
All right.
4th year at EVO.
Wow, it's been 4 years.
Yeah. It's been a while now. Strive has really like launched Guilty Gear into a much like bigger stratosphere. And a lot more focus on it. They're about to start their 4th season of DLC. Wow. Probably the first character will get announced at EVO sometime around Grand Finals. They also announced it's getting an anime movie a few weeks ago.
Cool.
I think a lot of people are expecting there's like this mysterious female character in the trailer for that, and a lot of people are expecting she might be one of the characters in the 4th season of DLC.
Oh, okay.
But other than that, there's a character named Dizzy who is like sort of I wouldn't say the #1 Guilty Gear waifu, not with like Baiken and Bridget, but she's definitely up on the Guilty Gear waifu tier list.
Okay.
She's definitely the most requested character who's not in the game yet. She is a gear, which means she has a lot of Guilty Gear story bullshit we don't need to talk about.
Yeah.
She's the wife of Kai and the mother of Sin. Sin the character, not Sin the concept, but those characters are both in Strive already.
All right.
She's also like an extremely oppressive zoner, so they might be keeping her out of the game because Strive already has some zoners who are extremely not fun to fight against. But I'm sure she'll get in eventually. I think she'll probably get in this season.
What was the name of that character that had like a spell book? It just seemed like wildly complex to play.
Asuka,
also
known as That Man.
Okay.
Asuka R. Kreutz. And then like a hashtag or like a flat symbol for music.
Okay.
That's his full name on his health bar.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one of the zoners. That is very not fun to fight.
Oh, good.
I was talking about. But yeah, it's ridiculous. Guilty Gear is ridiculous. This is like an incredibly competitive field. I had a hard time really narrowing it down to just 3 people to talk about. Like I left off Leffen, who won last year, left out Zondo, who's been very hot lately. I don't even have any like Japanese players, and there's a ton of great Japanese Guilty Gear players, but I settled on these 3 because they all have a lot of recent wins. Tempest NYC won EVO Japan this year. Went to Japan and beat them in their own EVO.
Wow.
Also won Combo Breaker and DreamHack Dallas. Just been on quite a tear the last few months.
Wow.
They mostly play Leo, but they have been messing around with Elfelt recently. Those characters are kind of similar, and they just have like overwhelming pressure with a lot of mix-up ability.
Oh, okay.
So I can see why Tempest favors them. Umi Sho, she won the first ever Guilty Gear Strive tournament at EVO 2022.
Oh, nice.
And she's picked up big wins at CEO and Frosty Fastings this year. And she has like stuck with Saul Bad Guy almost entirely, even when he's been kind of weak. She's managed to get a lot of work out of them, and I think he's generally like fairly strong again. Maybe not top tier, but still good enough where you can win tournaments with him. And one last player, Varix, won Arc World Tour this year. That is the flag of Senegal, if you were wondering.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe I don't know if I've seen like any African players win a major fighting game.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no clue of the fighting game scene in Africa.
I know there's some South African players who've been to like the Capcom Cup, but I don't know if any of them have pulled off major wins. I imagine it's tricky to travel, and with most like tournaments being in North America or Asia or Europe, it can be tricky. But yeah, Varix has really come on in the last couple of years. And he plays Nagori Yuki, the big samurai vampire guy.
Oh, okay.
Who's been like one of the strongest characters in the game almost its entire run.
Okay.
All right, and that's Strive.
All right, seems like one to watch.
Yeah, Strive is the tournament I'm really most interested in because it's got like there's so many strong Strive players, and the characters are so unique. It's really fun to see. All right, Tekken 8 just launched this year.
Yeah.
First year at EVO. I think, I wrote it down here. Tekken 7 first like released in arcades in 2015. So it's been a long time since there was a brand new Tekken.
Yeah, wow.
We're finally here. First player to watch, Arslan Ash from Pakistan, has just like really dominated tournaments like for the last couple of years. Like in the late 2010s, all of a sudden, like this group of Pakistani players just kind of took over the pro Tekken scene for a while, and Arslan was at the top of that group. Pakistani Tekken has like really taken off. It's
Nice,
really something.
Interesting.
For Tekken 7, he made a character named Kunimitsu, but she's not in Tekken 8 just yet. So Arslan's been playing Nina, who's one of the most iconic Tekken characters. She's a lady spy. I think she has a gun now. I don't know if she had a gun before, but I remember her having a gun in her trailers. But yeah. Ni, another player to watch. South Korea is like huge in sort of like Tekken history. They dominate a lot of the early tournaments.
Okay.
There's a Tekken movement tech called Korean backdashing that allows you to like move backwards really quickly, and that was of course discovered by South Korean players. Ni was like really dominant for a long time in the South Korean scene and the world scene. Not as much lately, but they did win a lot of Tekken 7 tournaments. They haven't gotten any huge results in Tekken 8 just yet, but this could finally be the time. I think Ni is another player whose main isn't in Tekken 7 yet, but I forget who they mained in Tekken 7. They've been playing Brian Fury.
Okay.
Who's just a big angry dude. But there's a lot of big angry dudes in Tekken, so it's hard to tell them apart. Brian's got like a mask, like a face mask, like Sherlock Holmes wears.
Oh, okay.
In chapter 1, I think it even has a skull on it. One last player to watch, Chikurin. I wanted to get at least one player from the Japanese scene, and Chikurin did just win EVO Japan. So I think they would probably be the one to watch. They play Lily, who is sort of the Rosemi of Tekken 8.
Okay.
Just like the rich blonde child. I think Rosemi even talked about playing Lily at some point.
Okay.
I think she picked up someone else. I haven't seen her streams in a while.
I wonder how many Rosemi references we're going to see.
I would imagine a few.
From players and I forget his name, but the guy who runs the game.
Yeah.
I look forward to that.
Yes. Oh, Parada.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yes. All right. One last game to talk about.
Yep.
Street Fighter 6. Second year at EVO. Just released their first Season 2 character in M. Bison. I imagine we'll see a trailer for Terry Bogard at EVO. They're adding characters from King of Fighters.
All right.
One thing that I think is really interesting in Street Fighter 6 Balance now, and the patch that came out like when M. Bison came out, like buffed Zangief quite a bit. Like not necessarily to top tier, but Zangief has been like one of the worst characters in 6 for most of its lifespan. And before that was one of the worst characters in Street Fighter V for almost its entire run. So we could finally maybe see some top tier Zangief play in Street Fighter 6, which I think would be
I would love
fun.
that.
Yeah.
So Zangief is one of my favorite characters. But that's probably mostly from just the one gag in the Street Fighter movie where he says, "Quick, change the channel."
One of the things Japan has been doing in Street Fighter 6 competition that we don't really have an analog here in the States, they have something called the Topanga League, which is like an online streaming thing where instead of having like an open tournament, they invite a bunch of pros and just have like sort of a league that competes over a few weeks. And then like winnows down to like I think an 8-person tournament in the final like stream. And the most recent Topanga League just finished, and it was won by someone playing Zangief.
All right.
Unfortunately, that player is not coming to EVO.
Oh no!
But Itabashi Zangief is coming to EVO, and he's played Zangief for decades, I think, at this point.
Okay.
One thing I am worried about: Akuma came out in like May. And that is the character that everyone is playing on.
Oh, dear.
Akuma's always been like one of, if not the most popular characters. So it's not surprising, but I know a lot of the pros have been picking up like a pocket Akuma. Like if they want to switch off their main. But anyway, here's some players to watch. You've probably heard of a few of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Start with Mena, 2-time Capcom Cup champion.
Wow.
Won EVO Japan this year. He still hasn't won an EVO like US, but he did go to EVO Japan this year and won there, which was, I'm sure, good for him. Getting kind of that EVO win off his back.
I think he got to grand finals last EVO and got the reset, but
lost to Angry Bird.
That's right, Angry Bird.
I forgot to mention this on the previous screen, but the player that won Capcom Cup this year, and you know the $1 million that was on offer, his name's Uma from Taiwan, is sort of functionally retired. I think they still compete a bit, but they've decided he's just gonna like enjoy his money and like go to VTuber concerts.
Good for him.
So he's not at EVO this year. Menno's been, he mostly plays Blanca, but he'll switch to Luke if needed, and I think he's been playing
play both.
A bit of Akuma.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's also been complaining about the M. Bison matchup for one of his characters. I forget which one. Bison just launched and is, I think, like pretty strong. I think people debate if he's like top tier or if his weaknesses like are holding him back a bit. He's like generally like very offensive, but he just doesn't have a lot of defensive tools, which I think fits that character at least.
Yeah.
Also, we've got Punk. Like Mena before his EVO Japan win, Punk's come close a few times, but has never won at EVO. He's finished second a couple times, I think third once, but he's really finally like started getting results in Street Fighter 6 and like this year. He just won CEO and Frosty Faustings. Even though he complains a lot, he's still like getting results now. He generally mains Cammy, but he has been picking up Akuma. I think I saw him playing Ken also earlier in Street Fighter 6. And I think Ken is still pretty strong, so I wouldn't be shocked if Ken comes out at EVO.
Just as ain't no salt tweets like Punk salt tweets.
Yeah, Punk salt tweets are legendary. He gets so upset.
All right. I'd say it's unfortunate. It's probably at least fun and good for like building hype for a scene like this.
Yeah. Punk is a fun character. There was one time in like Street Fighter V, he said he was going to completely quit playing Street Fighter and just play Guilty Gear. But then I think he kept losing at Guilty Gear.
Oh dear!
Went back to Street Fighter.
Come back to us, Punk.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's quite a character.
I'm excited.
Finally, Kakeru, Japanese player, in the past couple of years just started like ascending to be one of the top Japanese players. The Topanga Championships I just talked about, he just got second.
Oh, okay.
And second at EVO Japan 2 Mena. He's also maining M. Bison and Akuma, the two most recent characters and two of the strongest characters. And before that, he was maining JP, so he really likes like evil purple fire characters.
Yeah. Evil old men.
Yes. Evil old guys. It's a fun archetype.
Is JP like the guy with like the suit and the cane?
Yes, he is. Where, Bison is sort of like slow, tanky, like big hits.
Yeah.
JP is like very sort of refined, and he's a zoner, so he's a lot of projectiles. And then Akuma's a glass cannon. He like has like a lot of like cool movement tech, and he has aerial fireballs and everything, but he has the lowest health in the game, so if you hit him, he's going to hurt.
Interesting.
So they managed to keep their old evil purple characters distinct, at least.
Yeah, pretty diverse.
Nice. But yeah, that's all for the previews. I just have one wrap-up slide here. What's next for EVO?
Oh.
Last year they talked about adding like a third major tournament, but I don't think we've heard anything about that since then. I think we have a tournament in North America. We have a tournament in Japan. Would generally expect either a European tournament or maybe a Middle Eastern tournament. That was
I would expect. That was two I would expect as well.
One in like probably the UAE. I would guess Dubai.
Yeah, that would be my guess too. Would be Dubai.
But there's a couple games on the horizon. 2XKO is supposed to release maybe in 2025. That's the League of Legends fighting game.
Oh, okay.
The terrible title.
Okay. Yeah.
So, like, I have to refer to it as the League of Legends fighting game.
Yes.
So people know what I'm talking about.
I know. You'd think, League of Legends has such brand power, you'd want it to be recognizable in your fighting game, but no, they have this weird acronym instead.
Yes. But yeah, they are going to have, like, a demo of 2XKO at EVO this year. They had one last year as well. They're about to do their first like public beta test. So if like it's in a good enough state, I could see it showing up at EVO next year. If it's like still maybe in like an open beta, maybe they'll have like a showcase tournament for it. I was also curious if maybe Multiverses shows up. That's
It's like the Warner Brothers one.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Smash, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was curious because like EVO hasn't had like a Smash-like game since like they stopped having Smash itself, and Multiverses has at times been pretty popular, although it's had some like definite struggles. It's still currently in a beta state, but if it like works out its situation, I could see it like I think it'd be neat to get like a platform fighter back at EVO.
That would be neat. Yeah,
and I guess Nintendo is just not going to play ball, so it's
No.
probably not going to be a Smash game. Also, Fatal Fury, if it's ready to go in summer 2024, I imagine that'll make the show. Also, what's the next like throwback game going to be? We've had Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Mm-hmm.
Had Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. So I've got a couple potentials. I think the number one I think I'd like to see, and that like I think also could see, is Capcom versus SNK 2.
Oh, okay.
Capcom and SNK have been like cooperating a bunch lately. Like Terry and Mai are going to be in Street Fighter 6.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were expecting like the last KOF 15 DLC to be like Street Fighter characters.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll still see that. We'll see. But they used to have crossover games, and Capcom versus SNK 2 is an extremely degenerate game.
Oh, really?
You can just do some really dirty stuff in that game.
Oh, jeez.
Some real fun stuff. So I think that would be a fun one to see. I'd also love it if we could get a Darkstalkers game.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. People have been wanting like a new Darkstalkers.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that brand.
I think like after like the arcade crash, like Capcom just decided Street Fighter was going to be their only fighting game, or Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah, I want to consolidate.
Yeah, but it would be cool to see like Darkstalkers get on a big stage.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Maybe try to convince Capcom. The last one, sort of like following the theme of like trying to convince people to like make a new version of this. The only like 3D game we've had at EVO in recent years is Tekken.
Yeah.
So I think it might be cool to have Virtua Fighter at EVO. Like there hasn't been a new Virtua Fighter in a long time. Though it feels like Sega probably has like the development staff to pull off a good Virtua Fighter title these days. I don't know like what the like most popular Virtua Fighter games was. I know 5 has shown up at EVO a few times. I think that one is pretty well liked.
If they could set it up in such a way that the competitors played it through a Yakuza game,
that would be fun. And the things I was going to say, like one of the most requested guest characters for Tekken 8 people, or Tekken 8 and Tekken 7 people had, was Kazuma Kiryu.
Oh my god!
If they make a new Virtua Fighter, they have to put Kiryu
I feel like they have to.
Kiryu and Majima.
It's just the brand power that Yakuza has these days.
But yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what the latest Virtua Fighter was?
I think 5 was the last one I know about.
Do you know when that came out?
I want to say like early 2010s.
Oh, okay.
Like 2011 or something.
Okay, because the first Yakuza I think was 2005.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure how much Yakuza's been a presence during Virtua Fighter's lifetime. But yeah, that sounds like it's been a while still. Okay.
Yeah, Virtua Fighter 5, the first version came out in 2005.
Wow.
Yeah, so like a quick cutoff there between Virtua Fighter and Yakuza. Well, that's all I got. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Yeah.
And go watch some fighting games.
I'm very excited.
Friday.
We've just been like a little over a week out from SGDQ, but now we have this coming up.
Yeah. I feel like usually EVO's a little later. Like I feel like it's usually like first week of August, but I think they bumped it up for something. But I'm not complaining. I like watching people play video games well, whether it's speed running or fighting people.
Yeah.
It'll be a good time.
Yeah, we'll be tuning in. And surely Jeff's Dark Knight, the Dark Knight and Jeff Static will be there.
Oh, really? Cool.
Gonna get his ass beaten. Pool. What does he play? What do they play?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to guess Guilty Gear. I know there's a strong Guilty Gear overlap with FF14.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, Guilty Gear. Yeah.
I want to go to EVO sometime, though I don't know if I would like actually try to play anything.
Yeah, I would.
I'd probably just watch.
Out of all the video game events I'd want to go to, would be EVO. But yeah, it would be just to watch. Yeah. I don't really play fighting games, but I love watching them.
Yeah.
So someday we'll go there.
Yes, that'd be a fun trip.
Yeah. Maybe you can talk SI into letting you go.
I wonder if they have like an esports vertical.
That'd be great.
Contribute to.
All right, but yeah,
we'll be back in a couple days.
Yes.
For Paper Mario.
Yeah.
See what's happening in the Bogley Woods.
Mm-hmm. And then we have some more Escape Simulator DLC to do on Sunday.
We do.
All right, we'll see you on Friday.
Mm-hmm.